Everyone saw him as just an old groundskeeper. Same work clothes every day, same slow movements, same silence, until a 5-year-old child went missing and they watched him find her in 20 minutes. Before we begin this powerful story of hidden expertise, quiet service, and life-saving skills, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this need to be remembered, hit that subscribe button and help us make sure they are. Lincoln Park in Chicago was one of the city's most beloved green spaces. Families came here every day to walk, play, and enjoy the outdoors. The park was beautifully maintained with perfectly trimmed grass, colorful flower beds, and clean walking paths. And the man responsible for all this beauty was someone most visitors barely noticed, an old groundskeeper everyone simply called Frank. He arrived every morning at exactly 6 a.m., never late, never early. He put on the same green work coveralls, picked up his thermos of coffee, and began another long day. He never listened to music, rarely talked to other park employees, just focused on his park. Every tree, every flower, every pathway. The families who used the park knew him by sight, especially Sarah Williams, 32 years old, who came to the park every week with her 6-year-old daughter Emma. Sarah and other parents always saw the old man in the same place, in the flower beds, working quietly, never hurrying. "Why does this guy move so slowly?" Sarah had asked the park manager David once. "He's slow but thorough. He's been here 15 years. The park has never looked better." That was exactly right. Frank did every job perfectly, but never hurried. He watered flowers with care, trimmed grass with attention, collected trash quietly, as if he wasn't just doing groundskeeping, but protecting the park itself. One morning, Sarah's curiosity got the better of her, and she approached Frank. "Good morning," she said with a smile. Frank looked up. His face showed the marks of sun and age, but his eyes were sharp and alert. "Morning, ma'am," he replied in a low voice. "The park looks beautiful." "Thank you. Just doing my job." "How long have you been working here?" Frank set down his watering can. 15 years. "You really take care of this place." Frank smiled slightly. "It's important. Families come here. Kids play here."
That was it. Sarah nodded understandingly and continued her walk with Emma. Frank returned to his flowers.
Over the following months, Sarah began watching him more closely. There were different things about Frank's working style, how he organized the park, very systematic, very orderly, how he observed visitors, he was aware of every family, and his way of moving, constantly scanning his surroundings, knowing every path. "David," Sarah said to the park manager one day, "what do you know about Frank?" "Not much, really. He came 15 years ago, had excellent references. Do you know where he came from?" David shrugged. "Didn't ask. He's reliable, quiet, does his job." But Sarah's curiosity was growing. There was something different about Frank, his way of knowing the park, his organizational style, his attention to the environment. She began watching Frank more carefully. The man's hands, old but very strong, accustomed to working with soil. His way of managing the park, knowing every corner, systematic. And his eyes, constantly monitoring visitors, counting families. One day, while Frank was sitting during his break, Sarah noticed something in his bag. An old compass and flashlight. Strange tools for a groundskeeper. This guy might be former military, she thought. She would learn the answer on that tense day. Saturday afternoon, exactly 3:30 p.m. The park was very crowded. Families were having picnics, children were playing. Sarah was at the playground with Emma too. Frank was working in the flower beds, as usual. Emma was playing hide and seek with other children. While Sarah was chatting with a friend, she lost sight of Emma. At first, she wasn't worried. Children always hid. But 10 minutes later, Emma was still nowhere to be seen. "Emma?" Sarah called out. No answer. Other parents began searching too. They checked the playground, looked in the bathrooms, searched everywhere. 15 minutes passed. Emma was nowhere. Sarah began to panic. "Emma! Emma, where are you?" Other families were getting worried too. This was a large park. A child could easily get lost. "We should call the police," said one parent. "Already calling," said another. Sarah was breaking into tears. "She was just here. She was playing right here." Just then Frank approached. He was no longer dealing with flowers. He looked completely focused. "Ma'am," he said to Sarah, "what does Emma look like?" "Red jacket, blonde hair, 5 years old," Sarah said through her sobs. Frank nodded. "When did you last see her?" "About 15 minutes ago. Near the playground." Frank looked around, then turned to Sarah. "I'm going to find her." Sarah was surprised. "How?" "I know this park, every inch of it." Frank pulled his compass and flashlight from his bag. Then he took out a small notebook from his pocket. "What is Emma's favorite hiding spot at home?" he asked.
This question surprised Sarah. Under her bed or in the closet? Why? Children hide in familiar places, small, dark,
enclosed. Frank wrote something in his notebook. Then he pulled out a map of the park, an old worn map. She went this way, he said, pointing south from the playground. Followed the path. How do you know? Footprints in the soft dirt, small shoes running. Sarah looked but couldn't see anything. How was Frank tracking? Frank marked points on the map. Park has 7 hiding areas suitable for a child. Dark, enclosed, quiet. 7? Storage sheds, under bridges, thick bushes, old tree hollows. Frank had made a systematic plan. I'll check each location in order of probability. I'm coming with you. Stay here in case she comes back. I'll find her. Frank started walking, but no longer like a slow groundskeeper. Fast, determined, professional. His first stop was the old equipment shed. He opened the door, looked inside, used his flashlight. Emma wasn't there. Second stop was under the bridge. He examined carefully, called out. No answer. Third stop was among the thick bushes. Here he stopped, listened carefully. He heard a very faint sound. Crying. Emma, he called. I'm here, came a weak voice. Frank went into the bushes. Emma was sitting there, scared and crying. Hey there, Frank said gently. Your mom is looking for you. I got lost. I couldn't find the way back. It's okay. I'll take you to her. Frank picked up Emma. You're safe now. When they returned to the playground, Sarah came running. Emma! Oh my God, Emma! Emma hugged her mother. Sarah turned to Frank. How did you find her so fast? Experience, Frank said simply. But how? The police haven't even arrived yet. Frank paused while packing his bag. He was considering whether to answer Sarah's question. Ma'am, I used to do search and rescue. Search and rescue? Army Special Forces, 20 years, specialized in finding people. Sarah's mouth fell open. Army Special Forces? Retired now, but skills you don't forget. Just then, a police car arrived. Frank explained the situation to the police. Sir, said the police officer, are you trained in search and rescue? Was. Staff Sergeant Frank Martinez, retired Special Forces search and rescue specialist. Sarah was still in shock. This old groundskeeper was Special Forces? After the police took their report, Sarah approached Frank. Frank, why didn't you tell us? Frank paused as he returned to watering flowers. Didn't need to tell until today, but you could be working with emergency services using your skills. I am using my skills here, keeping families safe. How? Frank pointed to the park. I watch. I know every family, every child. I see patterns, potential dangers. Sarah now understood. Frank wasn't just doing groundskeeping. He was protecting the park. The next day, Frank came at the same time again. Same coveralls, same coffee, same calm manner, but now everyone looked at him differently. Good morning, Sergeant, Sarah said. Just Frank is fine. We're all just people here. Sarah smiled. That day, Frank talked to Sarah. He really talked for the first time. You know, Frank said, in Special Forces, we learned something important. What's that? Protection isn't always about uniforms and weapons. Sometimes it's about knowing the terrain, understanding people. Sarah nodded. Is that why you work here? I protect families. Always have. This park is my territory now. Do you miss it? The Army? Frank thought. Miss the mission. Miss knowing every operation mattered, but I don't miss the war zones. And now? Now I serve differently. Same mission, peaceful environment. From that day on, Sarah watched Frank work with different eyes. She could see he wasn't just doing groundskeeping. He was tracking every child, watching families, assessing potential dangers. This man wasn't an ordinary groundskeeper. He had found missing people for 20 years, saved lives. Now he was using the same skills to protect the park. A week later, the park manager called Frank to his office. He offered him a job with the city's search and rescue team. Frank declined. I'm needed here. But your experience could save more lives. It is saving lives. Right here. Park visitors now treated Frank differently, especially veteran families. One day, an old Army veteran recognized Frank. Special Forces? He asked. Retired. Thank you for your service, Sergeant. Frank nodded. Thank you for yours. Sarah watched this conversation. There was a special bond between these men.
Frank, Sarah said later, will you stay here long? As long as there are families to watch over.
And if someone else goes missing? Frank smiled. Then I'll find them. That's what we do. Sarah now understood. Frank wasn't just doing groundskeeping. He was a guardian, protecting the park and its families. Sometimes the most seemingly worthless jobs are done by the most valuable hearts. Staff Sergeant Frank Martinez had appeared to be just a groundskeeper for 15 years, until the day he was forced to save a life. Now I ask you, have you ever met someone like that? Someone who seemed ordinary but actually had a protective background. Share their names in the comments. Tell their stories. At The Human Stories, we believe in keeping stories like this alive. If this story moved you, subscribe, share, and help these voices survive. We'll see you in the next one. And until then, if you see an old groundskeeper working quietly, look twice. He might be hiding life-saving skills.